Hey guys, welcome to the Journey Back with Tiffany Hunt. Today we are going to be discussing what I consider to be an elephant in the room um, in reference to some of the things that I've previously discussed, but I really want to go over some details in reference to it. We are going to be addressing the fear. Um, the fear associated with doing something new, especially when it comes to spirituality, the fear associated with doing something that's not popular or widespread, especially here in the West, um, the fear associated with being somebody else other than what people have seen you be all this time, and being in a space where you may feel isolated. People that were once close to you don't quite understand you, and they have no real desire to learn the new you. They only want to pigeonhole you and keep you in a specific box or a specific category. I just want to address the fear. So let's first start by identifying what fear is. Fear is an emotion that our body emits once it is perceiving that there is a threat, whether that threat is real or the threat has been created in your thoughts based on your previous experience, your current experience, someone else's experiences. That is when fear is created. And in the body, it puts us in a place of fight or flight, where we're going to either, it actually sends signals from your brain to your heart to pump faster, to your blood to rush to your muscles, because it may need actual strength in order to physically fight someone off. There's a short process or a long process that your brain goes through, where it says, okay, the short process doesn't look at all of the full detail. They only see like a microscopic part of the picture and makes a decision based on that. Now, the long process would be for your brain to look through all of the details to make a proper assessment of the fear and say, okay, I need to do this or that. I don't need to go to the extreme. You can, like, if for instance you're in a house by yourself and you hear your door swing open, okay, the fight or flight is saying, okay, is that a burglar breaking into my house? And the first thing is, okay, you're scared, so the first thing you could do would be to run and hide. So your flight, you're leaving. But then if you have time to break down everything that's going on, you could say, oh, it's been really windy today. I do hear the branches blowing up against the thing. And oh, I remember the kids may not have pulled the door all the way to, or it may just be at that first little suction and not fully closed. So the wind is windy enough outside where it could just be the wind. And so you go through all of those nuances, whereas when you're making a quick response, you're not fully thinking through everything or looking at the full picture. You're only looking at, okay, the door swung open, it's late, it's dark, and I'm scared, so I'm gonna hide. It is an essential part of who we are to keep us safe. It will keep you safe, but can also keep you imprisoned. It's completely unconscious, so you don't have to think about being fearful. A lot of times it's in your subconscious. You just naturally become fearful depending on what the trigger is, what the situation is. You are gonna go right to being fearful. It can slow and shut down functions in your body. Function being your digestive system. You don't need that at that particular time in order to survive. So it shuts the system down. And it can sharpen your eyesight, because you're going to need to be able to see a lot clearer in order to be able to navigate whatever it is you need to navigate at that particular time. Your heart rate increases. Like I said, the blood flow to the muscles. The negative impacts that it can have on your body is it weakens your immune system. So you're more susceptible to be sick, especially if you're in a chronic state of fear. It can cause cardiovascular damage, gastrointestinal problems, which goes back to that whole digestive system. If it shuts your digestive system down, that means that you're not able to release waste properly. You're not able to release toxins out of your body or remove toxins out of your body. You're going to be stuck in possibly a state of toxicity because you're in a constant state of fear. It can cause ulcers and irritable bowel syndrome that also goes back to the digestive system. It can decrease fertility. It can accelerate aging and cause premature death. And so it can cause you to look older, feel older. Some people maybe have just perpetuated fear in their life for so long till it's a state that they've gotten comfortable in, but your body is basically, it's like you're living holding your breath. So your body is not functioning properly because you're in a constant state of fear. It can impair you forming long-term memories. Like it can actually damage your brain, being in a state of fear all the time. It is more difficult to regulate what's real and what's not. It can, it can cause of course, I said that. It can cause brain processing and reactivity problems. So you'll react slower to a situation, or you'll react, like some people, you can push a button, you can hold on to that button or whatever the problem is or whatever that challenge is for them. And they may respond to you in a, monotone or regular way, but then there's some people you can push a button and you're like, wow, I didn't know that would be that such a big deal, and they blow up and explode on you because their emotions are not regulated, because part of their brain has been damaged or has been compromised because of being in fear. And I'm not saying that everybody that reacts like that or responds like that has had that situation, but a lot of times we create what an outcome is going to be in reference to something new, in reference to some uncharted territory, based on what we've seen other people experience. And so for me, I want to discuss fear in reference to coming out of something that within the innermost parts of who you are, and in your quiet conversations with yourself, and in your quiet conversations with your inner being when no one else is around. Those conversations that you're having with yourself and that your ancestors are actually whispering, and a lot of us hear voices, or we have heard conversations, or we've had dreams where spirit is trying to connect with us and talk to us and tell us to do certain things. But we're so fearful because we don't want other people looking at us like, oh, that's weird, or something is wrong with that, or what's wrong with them, or why are they moving to this way, or why are they doing that now? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And the thing is, a lot of things you do based on your purpose may not make sense to somebody else. It's not for them to understand. It's for you to do what you need to do, no matter what anybody has to say, or whether they understand it or not. And some of it you may not understand. You may only understand from moment to moment, or as you get deeper into it, you'll remember. Because before you came here with a specific plan and a specific purpose, and your people sent you back here to do that work and to walk that purpose out. And a lot of us have just gotten so focused on the mundane day-to-day, and our careers and our children and our families, and making a certain amount of money or doing a specific thing that quote unquote says you're successful. But the thing that we actually came and incarnated to do, we know that there's something else we should be doing. We can't quite put our finger on it, but we're not really tapping into spirit and searching it out to figure out what it is that we need to be doing. And we're basically, we're messing ourselves up, for lack of a better for lack of a better way to describe it. You're hindering yourself from actually becoming and growing. And a lot of times the people that you're around will keep you stagnant and stuck because they may not want to grow. They may not want to do anything different. They may not want to move to the next space, and definitely in Christendom, it's all about this moving to the next level. And I also want to address in reference to fear when it comes to the relationship with God. Are you in a relationship with God or Jesus or whoever you serve or however you choose to serve? I can just reference Christianity because that's what I've done. That's what I have a bit more knowledge about. And so that's why I'm referencing it. And then I understand there are a lot of people that are in that particular religion or sect that are not fulfilled, and that are in a relationship with God based on the fear that if they don't serve God, they're going to go to hell. If they don't live their lives a certain way, they're going to go to hell. And their relationship with Him is benefit-based and fear-based. And so I would say that your relationship with Jesus, if you're in the relationship with Him simply because you're afraid of going to hell, I would say you're in an abusive relationship. And it's mentally and emotionally abusive because you're living your life based off of the fear of the possibility of something happening. And it's perceived fear that's been created in your head. And I mean, I've been in ministries and been in churches where you're preached into hell if you wear pants, or you're preached into hell if you wear lipstick or wear makeup, or you're preached into hell if you fornicate or have sex outside of marriage. You're told, all sinners will have their part in the lake of fire. Fornicators and adulterers, God will judge. All these things, all these scriptures are thrown at you and telling you to change your life. And I'm not saying that those are particular things, whether you're in or out of Christianity, that will serve you. Being an adulterer is not great because you're in a relationship with somebody and you're being in a relationship with someone or sexual relationship outside of that other relationship, which is causing other spiritual issues besides the physical issues. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I will say that if your friend was in a relationship with somebody and they were only in the relationship with somebody for, like, it's a lot of people that say, you don't want to be with somebody that's broke or whatever, especially as a woman. You don't want to be with someone that's broke or that doesn't have any money, and as long as he provides or whatever, it's certain things that people will put up with if they're having their financial needs met. So even if their emotional needs aren't met, even if their physical needs aren't met, they're willing to stick it out and stay. And not necessarily, and I'm not saying everyone, but not necessarily because I just want to be in this relationship because I'm just so in love, but because I fear the other side of it. Like, if I get out of this relationship, how am I going to be able to financially carry myself and my kids, or my situation? How am I going to be able to handle all that? I'll take the abuse, or I'll take whatever it is that comes along with this relationship as long as my financial needs are met. And so there is mental, emotional abuse in sometimes that relationship with Jesus, especially if it's based on you only wanting to receive and be in the relationship specifically for the possibility of the benefits. Like, there's no guarantee of benefits, even though people tell you if you do this, that will happen. There's plenty of people that have been in the church that have crossed every T and dotted every I and still didn't see as much fruit from it as what they put into it. But then also, sometimes the motive was off. So there's a lot of caveats and a lot of challenges to that. But I want to draw that parallel in reference to it being mentally and emotionally heavy to be in a place where you're fearful of living out your truth of who you are because other people are uncomfortable with it. And true enough, there are times when we are uncomfortable with who we are. And that's not abnormal, but sometimes the important thing is to get beyond being uncomfortable with who you are, to get to the other side of where you need to be and get to a place of being comfortable or actually finding comfort in the uncomfortability, knowing that these choices and these decisions that I'm going to make are going to bode well for me in the next phase or in the phase that's coming. Even though it's uncomfortable for me in this current state, it's necessary in order for you to move to the next place, in order for you to progress, in order for you to grow. And so I want you to ask yourself some questions, like what spiritual relationships do you have that are solely based in fear? Like you're solely in the relationship based on the fact that you don't want a negative effect to occur. And a lot of times there are triggers that occur. Like for me personally, I don't like being yelled at. Like I can have a conversation with you about pretty much anything, and we could talk about things that are offensive to me or uncomfortable for me. But when somebody raises their voice, part of me checks out. That's because my mom, she was a young mom and she was a yeller, and I didn't like it, and it was hurtful to me, and I was extra sensitive, and I can still be extra sensitive. But I don't like for people to yell at me. That is a trigger for me. I feel like you can have any kind of conversation. You could be mad at me. You could be whatever. But yelling is not a requirement. And for some people, that's normal. That's their day to day, But we associate certain experiences with certain things. Like for some people in childhood, okay, if one parent started yelling or if one parent came in, inebriated or drunk or whatever, they knew that behind somebody coming in drunk, there was going to be a beating behind it, or there was going to be a negative consequence behind it. And so they associate someone coming home drunk, like that could have happened in childhood with parents, and then now they're college students, they're living in a home with roommates, and a roommate comes home drunk, and they automatically associate that, okay, something bad is going to happen on the other end of that, and the roommate just might pass out. But because they've already had an experience seeing certain things as a trigger, and our senses create memories, and then there are triggers in those memories, and sometimes we don't even know why we're spiraling out of control, or why we're having the response that we're having in reference, I'm sorry guys, my nose itches, in reference to a certain thing that to someone else is minuscule, but to us it is huge, it is big. Like for me, there's never really a time where I think you should yell. Not saying that I don't raise my voice or whatever, but yelling is just not, it's just a trigger for me and the thing that I don't like. And the other part is learning what your triggers are and breaking those things down to identify where they originated, where they started, so that you can dismantle the fear and get your body back to a place where it's not in a constant state of trauma. Because living in a place of fear is you basically living in a traumatic place. And I also want to address where it says that it can cause you to be infertile or cause infertility. But just think of your baby sitting in your womb, stewing in fear and oppression and trauma the whole 9 months. That's a lot to start your life with, living in that place of trauma, living in that place of fear. And the baby comes out into the world, already in an anxious state, or already in a traumatic state, or already in a fearful place. And you don't really understand why, but that's because they stewed in all of that while they were on their way here. And so I just want to implore you to unpack the fear and to look at your relationships. Look at your spiritual relationship and see where the fear is, where the fear lies, what the fear has done to your body, what the fear has done to your psyche, and how you respond to things. And, a lot of people have a fear of success. They're like, oh, that picture or that idea just looks too big for me. I'm fearful if I succeed, then this will happen. You know, you've already created a negative narrative in your head, you know, and ask yourself, are you more of an optimistic person or a pessimistic person? When someone tells you something that's maybe out of your circumference of awareness or out of your idea of what's normal or what's good, do you automatically assume that things are negative, or do you automatically make the association with people that they're out to get you, that they're negative, that they're trying to ruin your life, or they're trying to take advantage of you? And where does that stem from? Does that stem from bad relationships with your parents, or non-existent relationships with your parents, or unhealthy relationships with whoever took care of you as a kid? Because I do think that it's not about, again, I'll say this again, it's not about placing blame on parents or grandparents or whoever it is that reared you. It's basically about making an identification of where something started for you. And it could have started long before you came here. And I spoke about that briefly in other videos in reference to ancestral trauma. There are things that occurred with our ancestors and things that happened to them, and we're still carrying the pain of that today. And there's been no remedy, and there's been no fully addressing it. You know, praying it away does not make it go away. Praying about it does not remove it. But there are rituals that can be done. There are spiritual baths that can be taken to remove trauma, to assist you with healing, to cause you to remove residue and actually fix an issue, as opposed to tucking it away. Because tucking away the trauma and pretending that the fear is not there can cause the problem. And I'm not saying that fear is not normal, because I think fear is 100% normal. The important thing is to overcome the fear by facing it and doing what it is that seems fearful. It is not the most comfortable thing for me to be on camera, to talk to people via YouTube, simply because I'm very much a conversationalist. Anybody that knows me knows I love to talk, and I can talk to anybody for probably hours. I've never met a stranger. But having a one-way conversation can be challenging for me, but I understand the necessity in what I'm doing, even if it's uncomfortable. I know that what I'm saying can be beneficial to someone, that it'll help to open and illuminate areas in people's lives that they've tucked away, that they've pretended not existed, that they refuse to pay attention to and deal with, and cause them to really have a completely brand new life if they just address those things that they have been running away from addressing because they're fearful about the other side. Like, I know a lot of times in relationships, we're fearful about being vulnerable. We're fearful about being transparent with certain things because we haven't accepted and embraced all of our own flaws. And so we're like, how can that person love me enough or care enough about me to embrace the parts of myself that I'm not even willing and open to embracing? Like, I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Like, that's too ugly, you know, or that's too nasty, or something is wrong with that, or they're going to reject me, or you know, a lot of us have a fear of rejection, you know, because we've been rejected subliminally. Some of us have been rejected outright. And although the other person that was doing the rejecting may not have even read what they did as them rejecting you, but it was rejection nonetheless. And so when certain things occur, or when certain situations pop up in relationships, we automatically assume that the other person cannot possibly accept me with all this baggage. They cannot possibly accept me with all this mess. You know, I'm fearful to have this conversation because I don't want an argument. You trying to keep the peace in your relationship, or trying to keep the peace in your house. You're tiptoeing, and so you're walking around in a state of fear and in a state of trauma because it's a conversation you don't want to have. It's a conversation that makes you uncomfortable, and the other person could just clearly say, okay, well, what do we do to move forward, or how do we resolve it, or is there a resolve for it, or thanks for being open with me and telling me and sharing with me. Because the thing is, if you've been with anybody for any length of time, even the things that you haven't talked to them about, especially if they're intuitive or they have natural gifts to see, understand, and know, there are things that you haven't told them that they already know. and they're still there. They're still loving on you, they're still supporting you, and they're still with you. And so you have to trust yourself and give your partner some clout and the benefit of the doubt, and saying, okay, they'll be fine, or okay, it's okay, or whatever comes on the other side of it, because I made this particular choice that was not necessarily right, or it was a mistake. They'll give me some grace and they'll give me some room. And sometimes we're our worst critic, and we're so hard on ourselves, so we can't even fathom the idea of somebody really loving us unconditionally. And most of us don't even know what that really looks like, because it's not something that we experienced in childhood. It's not something that we experienced with our relationship with ourselves. And so we're trying to relate to other people and trying to build bonds and relationships with other people, but our relationship with ourselves is fragmented, it's broken, it is neglected, it is just in a horrible space. And I want to continue that conversation in my next video in reference to building a relationship with yourself. I thank you guys for your time today. I have enjoyed my time with you. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Please share the video. Share the video with people that you think can benefit from the information that I'm giving. Please reach out and email me for support. Email me to set up a session so that we can talk over some issues, so that we can address some things, and so that we can find solutions for your problems. I have people that can help you in reference to learning about how to connect with your ancestors, and courses and things of that nature. So please reach out to me. Please share the video. Please connect with me. Please write a comment. I thank all of my subscribers. I'm a little tongue-tied. I thank all of my subscribers. I thank everyone that has watched the video, that has given me some time today. I wish you a wonderful day, and I know the weekend is coming up, so enjoy your time. I hope you enjoyed your break with your family last week. I apologize for no video last week, but I thank you guys. There will be videos uploaded each Wednesday, and I'm looking to add a second day, but we're going to start with just Wednesday. Again, I want to give you fuel for thought. So again, think about your relationships, spiritual relationships and natural relationships, where fear can be the basis. Fear can be an underlying thing that you've kind of put the rug over, but it's at the foundation. And so you want to unpack that and figure out where that fear started. I love you guys. Again, thanks for watching. Share the video. Rate, comment, subscribe to my channel. Again, share the video out. Have a wonderful one.